There comes a moment in life when time stops, not literally, because clocks never stop ticking, but emotionally, mentally, internally. And in that quiet moment, you suddenly become aware of something you have avoided for years. Time is not your friend unless you learn how to work with it. For some people, this moment comes in the middle of a busy week when everything feels heavy, deadlines are approaching, responsibilities are piling up, and the mind feels like it is drowning under the weight of unfinished tasks. For others, this moment arrives late at night when the world is quiet, the phone is finally down, and the mind whispers, "Where did my day go?" It's a painful realization because deep inside, you know you're trying your best, yet the results don't match the effort. You feel busy but not productive, active but not progressing, alive but not growing. And the truth hits you with gentle but sharp clarity. Time didn't run away from you. You simply did not guide it. That is where change begins. Not with a planner, not with a new routine, not with waking up at 5 a.m., but with a moment of honesty in which you recognize that time management is not about controlling hours. It is about controlling the direction of your life. Why time management is the center of everything. Time management is usually misunderstood as a skill for professionals, entrepreneurs, CEOs, or students preparing for competitive exams. But the reality is far deeper. Time management is the foundation on which every dream, every success, every transformation, and every version of your future self is built. You can have talent, creativity, intelligence, ambition, and passion, but if you don't manage your time, all of these strengths stay trapped inside you, unused, unexplored, and unnoticed. Time is the invisible currency of life. Everyone is given the same 24 hours, but not everyone knows how to invest it. Some people spend it, some people waste it, but the people who change their lives are the ones who invest it. Think about the difference between two people who both have the same dream. One keeps saying, "I don't have time," while the other quietly makes time and keeps moving forward. The first remains stuck and the second transforms. And what creates the difference? Not circumstances, not luck, not background, simply time management. It is the silent force that separates dreamers from achievers. The reason time management is so important is because life is not defined by big events. It is shaped by daily habits. 10 minutes of reading every day, 20 minutes of learning a skill, 30 minutes of working on your passion, 1 hour of deep focus work. These don't feel big individually, but their combined impact over weeks, months, and years is massive. The people you admire, writers, creators, athletes, innovators, didn't magically become great. They mastered the way they used their days, they mastered their hours, and eventually, they mastered their lives. This script is going to take you step by step into the deepest, most powerful time management secrets that not only bring productivity, but also bring clarity, confidence, peace, and achievement. Secret 1. The power of one big thing. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to do everything in a single day. They pack their to-do lists with tasks, duties, responsibilities, and goals, hoping that completing more tasks will make them more productive. But true time management doesn't work like that. Productivity is not about quantity, it is about priority. The most successful people in the world start their day by identifying one big thing. One task that, if accomplished, will make the day meaningful regardless of everything else. This is not just a strategy, it is a philosophy of life. When you begin your day focusing on the most important task, you anchor your entire day around progress. Imagine a writer trying to finish a book. If they force themselves to write for 10 hours, they burn out. But if they commit to one big writing session of 2 focused hours every morning, they finish the book in months. Imagine a student preparing for exams. Instead of studying 10 chapters in a day, they select one important chapter and study it deeply. Over time, this creates mastery. Imagine an entrepreneur who chooses one core task each day, improving the product, strengthening the brand, closing a deal, or building a system. That single daily effort compounds into long-term success. The power of one big thing is not about doing less. In real life, some of the most respected individuals follow this method. Steve Jobs often emphasized the importance of focusing on a few things with absolute intensity instead of chasing dozens of tasks. The world's best athletes focus on one key skill to improve each day. Successful students put their energy into one difficult subject at a time. When you identify your one big thing, you give your life direction. When you complete it, you feel fulfilled, motivated, and productive. And this inner confidence pushes you to achieve even more. Secret 2. Protect your energy, not your time. Most people think time management is about managing hours, but the truth is that it is about managing energy. You can have 8 free hours in a day and accomplish nothing if your mind is tired or distracted. You can have only 1 focused hour and achieve more than most people do in an entire day. The real secret is understanding your own energy cycle. Every person has periods during the day when their mind feels fresh, sharp, and creative. For some, it's early morning, for some, it's late night, for others, it's mid-afternoon. The key to mastering time is discovering when you are at your best and using those hours for your most important tasks. Think about a student studying late at night because everyone else does, even though their energy is low at that time. They spend hours reading but remember very little. Now imagine the same student studying for just 1 hour during their peak energy time, maybe in the morning when the mind is fresh. That 1 hour is worth more than 3 exhausted hours. Similarly, content creators who film when they feel most creative produce better videos than forcing themselves to create at random times. Athletes train harder and smarter when they schedule practice during their peak performance window. When you protect the hours where your energy is highest, you protect your productivity, your creativity, your clarity, and your future. Secret 3. The art of saying no without guilt. One of the most misunderstood and underappreciated aspects of time management is the ability to say no. Most people think they are bad at managing time because they are lazy or unorganized, when in reality, the real problem is that they are unable to protect their time from others. They say yes to every request, every favor, every plan, every distraction, and every invitation that comes their way, not because they want to, but because they fear disappointing people or being judged. They agree to things even when their heart knows it will disturb their routine, break their focus, delay their work, or push them away from their goals. And every time they say yes to something that doesn't matter, they silently say no to something that does. That is the invisible tragedy of poor time management. It's not that people lack time, it's that they give it away too cheaply. Saying no is not about being rude or selfish, it is about being intentional. When you say no to unnecessary tasks, you say yes to your growth, your priorities, and your peace of mind. People who understand time know the value of selective commitment. They choose their battles wisely, protect their energy fiercely, and never allow others to control their schedule. Warren Buffett famously said, The difference between successful people and very successful people is that very successful people say no to almost everything. This is not arrogance. It is alignment. It is clarity. It is the understanding that time is too precious to be wasted on things that don't contribute to your future. In real life, consider a student who always agrees to hang out with friends even when exams are near. They don't want to feel left out, so they keep saying yes until eventually their grades suffer. Now imagine a different student who says, "I can't come today. I need to complete this chapter." Their friends might tease them for a moment, but respect grows silently and results speak loudly. Or take the example of an entrepreneur who receives dozens of invitations every week, meetings, collaborations, events, discussions, but they say yes only to the ones that align with their vision. That is why they grow faster. Saying no doesn't harm your relationships. It strengthens them because people begin to understand that your time has value. And once you learn this art, your life begins to move with a clarity you have never felt before. Secret 4. The 2-minute rule of silent action. Procrastination is not a time issue. It is an emotional issue. People delay tasks not because they don't have time, but because their brain creates unnecessary resistance for small actions. A message to reply, a paper to file, a document to scan, a note to write, a small arrangement to fix. These tasks take less than 2 minutes, yet they pile up until they become overwhelming. This is where the 2-minute rule changes everything. The rule is simple. If something takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. Don't think. Don't postpone. Just do it. Why does this rule work so effectively? Because small tasks create mental noise. Even if you ignore them, your brain does not forget them. They stay in your subconscious as tiny distractions that drain your focus and steal your mental energy. When you complete these tasks instantly, your mind becomes lighter, your space becomes cleaner, and your productivity becomes smoother. Suddenly, your day starts feeling organized without any effort. Delaying a 30-second task can cost you 30 minutes of mental stress later. Doing it immediately gives you instant relief. In real life, imagine a person working from home with a messy desk. Every day they tell themselves, "I'll clean it later." But that tiny mess affects their mood, their concentration, and their motivation. Now imagine the same person spending just 2 minutes to arrange everything at the start of the day. Instantly, their energy shifts. Their mind feels clearer. Or take the example of someone who keeps leaving unread messages for later and ends up losing track of important information. But if they reply to small messages instantly, they remain organized and stress-free. The 2-minute rule doesn't just improve productivity, it builds discipline. It teaches your brain that action is easier than avoidance. It gives you momentum, and momentum is the foundation of success. Secret 5. Designing a routine that works for you. Time management becomes truly powerful when you create a routine that fits your personality, not a routine copied from someone else. Many people fail at routines because they adopt methods that don't match their lifestyle, energy patterns, or responsibilities. They try waking up at 5 a.m. because a motivational video told them to, but their body doesn't function well that early. They try studying late at night even though their concentration evaporates after 10 p.m. They create schedules filled with unrealistic expectations, forcing themselves to follow a life that isn't theirs. When routines clash with your natural rhythm, discipline becomes a burden. But when they align with who you are, discipline becomes effortless. A strong routine is not about doing everything at a fixed time. It is about giving your day a clear direction. Your morning routine should activate your mind and body. Your afternoon routine should support your work or study. And your evening routine should calm you down and prepare your brain for the next day. You don't need a perfect schedule. You need a predictable flow. Even 10 minutes of intentional planning can change the quality of your entire day. And the best routine is one that is simple enough to follow even on your worst days. Consider a real-life example. Successful athletes follow routines not because they are forced to, but because these routines optimize their mental and physical energy. A football player doesn't randomly decide when to train. Practice sessions, warm-ups, cool-downs, and recovery periods are structured to create peak performance. Similarly, the world's top writers have fixed writing hours where they do nothing except write. Not because they are disciplined robots, but because habits create consistency. Consistency creates progress, and progress creates results. A good routine doesn't restrict your freedom. It protects your future. The invisible battle, distraction versus time. One of the greatest enemies of time management is distraction. Silent, subtle, and surprisingly powerful. People believe distraction is just about phones, social media, or notifications, but the truth goes much deeper. Distraction is anything that pulls you away from your purpose, anything that consumes your attention without giving value in return, anything that delays your growth while pretending to entertain you. Distraction doesn't always look harmful. Sometimes it looks harmless, even enjoyable. A 5-minute scroll turns into 40 minutes. A short video turns into a spiral of endless recommendations. A quick break becomes a long pause. And before you realize it, the day has slipped through your fingers like sand, silently and slowly, without resistance, without sound. Human attention is fragile. Your brain is not designed to handle constant stimulation. Every time you switch tasks, checking your phone, responding to random messages, picking up calls, watching reels, you lose not just a few seconds, but your productive rhythm. Studies show that after a distraction, it can take the brain 10 to 20 minutes to return to the same level of focus. Imagine how much time is lost in a single day when distractions repeat 20 or 30 times. This is why people spend hours working but achieve very little. They are not tired from work. They are tired from switching. A real-life example. Imagine a student sitting with a book, determined to study. Their phone vibrates with a notification. They glance at it, telling themselves they'll look for just a second. That second turns into a minute, that minute into 10, and soon the book loses meaning. The focus is broken, the flow is lost. The student returns to the book, but now everything feels harder, heavier. They blame themselves for bad memory or laziness, but the truth is simple. Their mind was pulled out of its concentration zone. Focus is like a delicate flame. Even a small breeze can extinguish it. That breeze is distraction. Time management is not just about gaining hours. It is about protecting your attention. The best way to do this is through focus zones, specific time blocks where you shut everything out, silence your phone, remove distractions, and dive fully into your work. When your mind enters deep focus, you achieve more in 30 minutes than others do in 2 hours. Distraction kills time slowly, invisibly, silently, but discipline saves time loudly, powerfully, undeniably. Understanding the compound effect of time. Most people underestimate the power of small, consistent actions repeated over long periods. They think success comes from big, dramatic changes, life-turning decisions, or massive efforts. But real success is built quietly, invisibly, gradually, through the compound effect of small habits that grow like roots beneath the surface until one day they form a strong, unshakable foundation. Time management is not about doing everything perfectly every day. It is about doing something meaningful consistently. 10 minutes of reading every day seems small, but in a year that becomes 3,650 minutes, over 60 hours of knowledge. Imagine how much a person grows in that time. Similarly, writing 1 page a day leads to a book in a year. Practicing a skill for 15 minutes daily turns an amateur into a professional over months. Saving even a small amount of money consistently becomes a significant financial cushion over time. The human mind often ignores small actions because we cannot see immediate results. But time magnifies these efforts. Time multiplies them. A real example. Consider someone learning guitar. In the beginning, 15 minutes of practice feels too little. They want fast results, so they either push too hard and get frustrated, or they procrastinate because progress feels slow. But another person quietly practices for 15 minutes every single day. After a year, their fingers move smoothly, chords feel natural, and music flows effortlessly. People think they learned fast, but they simply learned consistently. That is the compound effect. The same principle applies to fitness. A person who does 10 push-ups daily becomes stronger without even noticing how much progress is being made. After a year, they've done thousands of push-ups. Meanwhile, someone else goes to the gym once a week and wonders why results aren't showing. Time rewards consistency, not intensity. When you manage your time with consistency, you unlock a secret power that transforms every area of your life. Balancing productivity and peace. Many people believe time management is about squeezing every minute of the day into some productive activity. They think the goal is to stay busy, constantly working or learning. But that is not true time management. Real time management is the balance between productivity and peace. Knowing when to act and when to rest, when to move and when to pause, when to work and when to restore your energy. If productivity builds success, then rest sustains it. You cannot pour from an empty mind, nor can you create from a tired heart. Rest is not laziness, it is recovery. Sleep is not unproductive, it is mental repair. Taking a break is not weakness, it is strategy. Highly successful people protect their rest as much as their work. Athletes have recovery days, musicians have silent days. Entrepreneurs have off hours where they disconnect. The mind, like the body, needs space to breathe. Real-life example. Imagine someone working tirelessly on a project without breaks, pushing themselves for hours. After some time, their efficiency drops. Errors increase, creativity fades, their brain becomes foggy. But imagine the same person taking a 5-minute break every hour to stretch, breathe, or relax. Their energy stays steady, their mind stays sharp, their productivity remains high. In the long run, they achieve more with less stress. Peace is not a luxury, it is fuel for productivity. A calm mind works faster. A rested brain learns better. A peaceful heart creates more. When you schedule time for rest, sleep, meditation, nature walks, hobbies, you are not wasting time. You are investing in your energy. Balance is strength. Without it, productivity collapses. With it, everything becomes possible. Awareness, the true root of time management. Most time management techniques fail because they focus on external actions, using planners, making to-do lists, using timers, without addressing the root cause, self-awareness. Until you understand how you function, no technique will save your time. Awareness means understanding your triggers, habits, patterns, energy levels, emotional responses, and weaknesses. Awareness lets you determine when you procrastinate, why you get distracted, what drains your energy, what boosts your focus, when you work best, and what is blocking your progress. For example, some people procrastinate not because they're lazy, but because they fear failure. Some get distracted easily because their environment is chaotic. Some feel unproductive because they overload their schedules. Some cannot rest because they feel guilty. Awareness reveals the real problem. Only then can time management transform your life. A real-life example. A content creator spends hours trying to brainstorm ideas but fails. They think they're not creative. But the real issue is that their brain works best in the morning, yet they try creating at night when their energy is lowest. Once they become aware of this, everything changes. Their creativity flows naturally. They feel more confident. Awareness solved what discipline could not. Time management is not a race against a clock. It is a journey within yourself. The deeper your awareness, the better your alignment. And the better your alignment, the smoother your life becomes. The moment your life begins to change. There is a silent turning point in every person's life, a moment when you stop running behind time and begin walking beside it. This moment doesn't arrive with fireworks or dramatic gestures. It arrives in small decisions, tiny shifts, and subtle realizations that start to build a new identity inside you. You begin to notice that your mornings feel calmer, your days feel clearer, your evenings feel lighter, and your nights feel more fulfilled. You start choosing your battles, planning your direction, and protecting your energy. Slowly, you feel a shift. Life becomes intentional instead of accidental. This transformation does not happen overnight. It begins when you take ownership of your time, not blaming your past, not fearing your future, but embracing the power of the present. And in that moment of ownership, life gradually transforms from a blur of random tasks into a clear journey guided by purpose. This transformation feels almost spiritual. You begin to understand that time is not your enemy. It is your companion. That every minute you shape becomes a step toward becoming who you want to be. That time is not something you must chase. It is something you must craft. And when you realize that you can shape your minutes, you finally understand that you can shape your life. That is the real beginning of growth, discipline, success, and peace. How discipline builds identity. People think discipline is about forcing yourself to do things you don't like. But true discipline is actually about becoming the person you want to be. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, even a small one, you strengthen your identity. You start believing in your ability to show up. You begin to trust yourself. And once you trust yourself, time management becomes natural because you no longer see tasks as punishments. You see them as pathways to your better future. Imagine someone who decides to read for 10 minutes every morning. At first, it feels small, almost meaningless, but gradually, it becomes part of their identity. They begin to see themselves as someone who values knowledge, someone who invests in themselves, someone who is consistent. Now imagine someone who decides to walk for 15 minutes daily. Over time, walking becomes part of their identity. Their body feels better, their mind becomes fresher, their energy improves. Eventually, they see themselves as someone who prioritizes health. This is how identity works. Small habits repeated with consistency build a new version of you. A real-life example. Think of a student who starts waking up just 20 minutes earlier to revise. In the beginning, it feels difficult, But after 2 weeks, those 20 minutes become a natural part of their day. A month later, they begin to see improvement in their understanding and grades. 2 months later, they become the kind of student teachers admire. Their identity transforms from "I can't focus" to "I am disciplined." Discipline is not about punishment. It is about becoming the version of yourself that you always wished you could be. How winning. Small battles creates big victories. The biggest mistake people make is waiting for big victories. Promotion, recognition, massive transformation, achieving huge goals, when in reality, life rewards the small victories far more than the big ones. The small battles you win daily, the 5 a.m. wake-up, the one-page read, the short workout, the 2-minute task completed, the distraction avoided, the no you said with courage, the one big task you finished. All these victories build internal momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence creates consistency, and consistency creates massive results. Imagine two people starting on the same day. One waits for motivation, waits for the perfect moment, waits for the right mood. The other simply starts, even with small steps. After a month, the difference is noticeable. After 3 months, the difference is huge. After a year, their lives look completely different. The secret lies not in big actions, but in repeated small ones. Consider the example of a YouTuber. Many creators dream of going viral, but the ones who succeed are the ones who win small battles. Scripting the video, filming even when tired, editing late at night, learning from every mistake, improving with every upload. Over time, those small actions create a big audience. The same applies to students. Mastering one chapter at a time leads to mastery of the entire subject. Athletes train one skill at a time, and eventually they become champions. Life does not respond to occasional intensity. It responds to consistent effort. Aligning your life with your values. Time management becomes effortless when your actions align with your values. When you know what truly matters to you, growth, stability, creativity, health, family, learning, success, independence, you naturally begin to direct your time toward those things. But when your time goes into activities that don't reflect your values, you feel drained, dissatisfied, and disconnected from yourself. For example, if you value health but spend hours on unhealthy habits, your mind will constantly feel guilty. If you value learning but never make time to read or study, you'll feel unfulfilled. If you value success but procrastinate daily, you'll feel internally conflicted. This conflict drains your time, energy, and motivation. But when your values and actions match, time management becomes automatic. A person who values fitness doesn't struggle to find time for workouts. They simply make it a priority. A student who values education naturally makes time for studies. A creator who values impact naturally makes time to create. A business person who values growth makes time for planning and strategy. Values are the compass of your life. When you follow them, the path becomes clear. When you ignore them, time becomes chaotic. Real-life example. Think of someone who values family but is always busy, always distracted, always tired. They feel guilty because their actions don't match their values. But once they begin to rearrange their schedule, setting aside a few hours to spend quality time with their loved ones, they feel a deep sense of peace. Alignment creates emotional clarity, and emotional clarity strengthens time management. Understanding that time is finite. There is a painful truth people often avoid. Time is the only thing in life that never comes back. Money lost can be earned again. Opportunities missed can reappear. Friendships broken can be healed. But time? Once gone, it is gone forever. This realization is not meant to scare you. It is meant to awaken you. When you understand the value of time not as an unlimited resource, but as a precious, finite gift, your entire relationship with life changes. You begin to value your mornings. You begin to value your energy. You begin to value your peace. You begin to value your tasks, your focus, your environment, your relationships. You no longer waste hours on people or activities that drain you. You no longer drift through days without purpose. You begin to live with awareness. You begin to live consciously. Real-life example. Many older people regret not studying when they had time, not traveling when they were young, not taking care of their health when they could, not spending time with family when they had the chance. They don't regret failures. They regret wasted time. And if you learn from their wisdom, your future becomes brighter. Time is not infinite, but it is enough if you use it intentionally. The psychology of procrastination. Why we delay. Understanding time management requires understanding the psychology behind procrastination. People often mistake procrastination for laziness, but the truth is far more complex. Procrastination is not the absence of productivity, it is the presence of emotional conflict. It happens when your brain perceives a task as overwhelming, difficult, uncertain, or emotionally uncomfortable. Instead of facing that discomfort, your brain protects you by shifting to something easier, scrolling, watching videos, cleaning the room, talking to someone, or doing anything that feels lighter in the moment. Your brain is not choosing distraction, it is avoiding discomfort. And until this psychology is understood, no amount of planning or scheduling can save your time. For example, many students procrastinate on studying a difficult chapter, not because they don't want to study, but because they fear not understanding it. Their mind builds a wall around the task, making it feel heavier than it actually is. Similarly, someone wanting to start a business delays taking the first step because of fear of failure, judgment, or uncertainty. A writer delays writing because they feel their ideas aren't good enough. A fitness beginner delays exercising because they feel embarrassed or inexperienced. These delays are rooted in emotion, not inability. The moment you realize this, something shifts. Instead of fighting procrastination with force, you dissolve it with understanding. When you break tasks into small, simple steps, the emotional weight reduces. When you tell yourself, "I'll work for only 5 minutes," your brain agrees because the pressure disappears. This is why starting is the most powerful part of time management. Once you start, even for 2 minutes, you create momentum, and momentum defeats procrastination. The hardest part of any task is not the task itself, but the emotional resistance before starting. How time management builds unbreakable confidence. People often worry about how to build confidence, how to feel capable, how to become stronger mentally, how to trust themselves. They look for motivational videos, affirmations, books, advice, but they overlook the simplest and most powerful source of confidence: time management. When you manage your time well, you start completing tasks. When you complete tasks, you feel capable. When you feel capable, you take bigger actions. Every small success becomes evidence that you can rely on yourself, and this evidence builds a confidence that no one can take away from you. True confidence does not come from compliments or achievements. It comes from the quiet pride of knowing you showed up for yourself. When you wake up early and study, you build confidence. When you finish your one big thing for the day, you build confidence. When you avoid distractions, you build confidence. When you maintain routines, you build confidence. When you say no to what drains you, you build confidence. When you stay consistent, even on hard days, you build confidence. Real-life example. Think about a content creator who posts consistently for months even when the views are low. They begin to trust their discipline more than the algorithm. Or think of a student who studies consistently for weeks. Even if their marks aren't perfect yet, they feel stronger inside because they know they are doing their part. Confidence is not the result of perfection, it is the result of consistency. Every day you manage your time well, you silently tell yourself, I am capable. I am growing. I can do this. Over time, this becomes your default identity. Flow state, when time feels like magic. There is a state of mind called flow in which time disappears and productivity becomes effortless. You've probably experienced it before, when you were so deeply concentrated on something that you didn't notice hours passing. This is the most powerful mental state for high performance. Artists feel it when painting, writers experience it while writing, athletes feel it in the middle of practice, students feel it when they're deeply engaged in a chapter, workers feel it when they're completely absorbed in a task. Flow state happens when 3 conditions are met. 1, you're doing something meaningful. 2, you're doing something challenging but not overwhelming. 3, you're free from distractions. When you enter flow, tasks that normally take hours get done in minutes. Your mind works at its highest speed. Your creativity expands. Your concentration sharpens. Your energy becomes laser-focused. This is why protecting your attention is so important. Every time a distraction interrupts you, it pulls you out of the flow state, and it can take 20+ minutes to return. A real-life example. Many writers block out 2 hours of deep writing time every morning because they know flow state will help them produce better work. Similarly, top programmers often enter flow state during long coding sessions, producing lines of code that would be impossible in a distracted environment. Flow is not magic. It is the natural result of focus. When you master your time, you create the optimal environment for flow, and once you regularly experience flow, your productivity skyrockets. Emotional boundaries. Protecting your time from people. Time management is not just about handling tasks. It is also about handling people. Many struggle with productivity not because they are weak or lazy, but because their environment constantly pulls them in different directions. People ask for favors. They interrupt. They expect instant replies. They demand attention. They assume you'll be available. They unknowingly drain your time without understanding your goals or priorities. This is why emotional boundaries are essential. You cannot manage your time unless you manage the people who consume your time. Learn to gently but firmly communicate your availability. Learn to separate urgent from important. Learn to avoid emotional manipulation. Phrases like, just 5 minutes. Why can't you reply now? Or, are you ignoring me? Learn to create spaces where you can work undisturbed. Learn to prioritize yourself without guilt. Real-life example. Entrepreneurs often block certain hours of the day as non-negotiable work hours. No calls, no visitors, no interruptions. Students who top their exams often have boundaries with friends. They don't join every plan. They don't get distracted by gossip. They don't let others disturb their schedule. Even employees who excel professionally protect their time by limiting unnecessary meetings or clarifying expectations with colleagues. Boundaries are not rude. They are respectful to yourself and your future. The people who truly love and support you will understand, and the ones who don't, we're never going to support your growth anyway. Time management requires courage. the courage to prioritize your life. The inner transformation. Why time management makes you feel more alive. As you start managing your time more effectively, something extraordinary happens inside you. You begin to feel a sense of control you never felt before. You start waking up with purpose. You feel mentally clear. You stop rushing. You stop panicking. You start breathing deeper. You start appreciating small moments. You feel lighter, calmer, more confident. Your mind begins to focus not on what you didn't achieve, but on what you're becoming. Time management is not just a tool, it is a form of self-love. When you manage your time, you give yourself permission to grow, to succeed, to rest, to create, to dream. Real-life example. Think of someone who struggled for years with inconsistency. They constantly felt unproductive, stressed, guilty, and disappointed in themselves. But the moment they started managing their time, even with small steps, they began to feel alive again. They felt progress. They felt improvement. They felt hope. Time management doesn't just make your life efficient, it makes your life meaningful. Real-life transformation story. From overwhelm to control. Every great transformation begins quietly. Let me take you into the story of a young man named Arav, someone who represents millions of people around the world. Smart, talented, capable, but constantly feeling lost in the chaos of life. Arav was always busy. His days were filled with tasks, messages, classes, assignments, and responsibilities. Yet he always felt behind. He wasn't lazy. He simply lacked direction. He would wake up late, rush through the day, complete tasks last minute, and constantly feel stressed. His nights were restless because his days were restless. He knew he had potential, but he didn't know how to use it. One day, while sitting alone in his room, surrounded by unfinished work, he realized something important. If nothing changes, nothing changes. He didn't need more motivation. He needed structure. He began small. He identified his one big thing each morning. Some days it was completing an important assignment. Other days it was preparing a presentation. Slowly, his days began to feel lighter. Then he adjusted his study hours to match his peak energy time. He reduced his screen time during mornings. He began keeping boundaries with people who constantly interrupted him. As weeks passed, Arav felt something he hadn't felt in years: clarity. His grades improved, his anxiety decreased, his sleep became peaceful, and his confidence soared. His life didn't change because of a miracle. It changed because of time management. His story is proof of something powerful. You don't need a perfect start. You need a consistent direction. Time management transforms ordinary people into extraordinary versions of themselves. The success paradox: why busiest people accomplish the most. Have you ever wondered why people who are extremely busy often achieve far more than people who seem to have plenty of free time? This is the paradox of success. The more structured your life becomes, the more time you actually create. Successful people are not lucky. They are intentional. They use time like a tool, not like a toy. They approach each day with clarity, focus, and mental discipline. Busier people accomplish more because they understand the true value of time. They don't waste minutes on meaningless tasks. They don't allow others to control their schedule. They don't get pulled into distractions easily. Their mind is trained to prioritize, evaluate, and act. Meanwhile, the people with the most free time often waste it because they don't see each hour as an opportunity. They see it as something that will always come again. But time doesn't return. Time only moves forward. Real-life example. A mother working a full-time job manages her household, prepares meals, helps children with studies, and still finds time for her passion. How? Because she has structure, she has urgency, she has purpose. Meanwhile, someone with a whole day free may struggle to complete even one meaningful task because their day has no anchor. Structure creates momentum, and momentum creates results. How time management leads to massive long-term success. When you begin using time intentionally, it starts creating compounding results across every area of your life. This compounding effect is subtle but powerful. Imagine someone reading 10 pages a day. It seems small, but that's 3,650 pages a year, equivalent to 10 to 12 books. Now imagine someone working on a skill for just 20 minutes daily. In a year, they become better than 90% of people who never started. Imagine someone saving a small amount every week. Over years, that becomes stability and freedom. The compound effect works because time multiplies your investment. Every action you take returns to you in a bigger form. Every hour invested in learning returns as knowledge. Every hour invested in health returns as energy. Every hour invested in your career returns as growth. Every hour invested in discipline returns as confidence. Time is the only currency that multiplies without asking. But it multiplies only if you invest it, not if you waste it. Real-life example. Most successful entrepreneurs did not build their empires in 1 year. It took them years of consistent effort, daily progress, and time invested into learning, planning, failing, improving, and growing. Their success is simply the visible result of invisible time invested wisely over long periods. Slow growth is still growth. Why you don't need to rush. We live in a world obsessed with speed, fast results, fast success, fast achievements. But real life doesn't work like that. Time has its own rhythm, and growth has its own pace. Slow progress is not failure. Slow growth is not weakness. Slow success is not inferior. In fact, slow and steady growth is usually the strongest because it builds consistency, resilience, and patience. Think about a bamboo seed. For 5 years, it shows no visible growth. People think nothing is happening underground, but in the 6th year, it suddenly grows 80 feet in a matter of weeks. Did the bamboo grow in 6 weeks? No, it grew in 6 years. The roots were building silently beneath the surface. That is how life works. Your silent years, your disciplined months, your daily habits, they are building your foundation. The results will appear suddenly, but the work behind them is slow and steady. Real-life example. Many students think they're not improving because they can't see immediate results. But after months of consistent learning, suddenly they rank higher, understand concepts better, and feel more confident. It wasn't sudden. It was slow growth accumulating quietly. Time rewards the ones who stay patient. Why mornings matter. The silent power of a good start. The first hour of your day shapes the quality of the entire day. When you start your morning with intention instead of chaos, your mind becomes stronger, calmer, and more focused. You don't need a fancy morning routine. You just need a purposeful one. Something that signals your brain that the day has begun with clarity. Even simple steps can change everything. Waking up peacefully instead of rushing. Drinking water instead of checking notifications. Breathing deeply instead of worrying. Spending a few minutes planning your one big task. Keeping your environment clean. Moving your body even slightly. These small morning rituals create mental clarity. They reduce stress. They build confidence. They set a tone of responsibility and purpose. A powerful morning doesn't happen by chance. It is built through consistency. And once you begin experiencing its impact, you will protect your mornings like treasure. Real-life example. Students who revise even for 10 to 15 minutes in the morning often retain information better because the mind is fresh. Professionals who plan their day before opening emails outperform those who start their day reactively. Creators who brainstorm ideas early feel more creative. Morning clarity shapes daily productivity. Night routines, where discipline is silently built. While mornings shape your day, nights shape your discipline. Your night routine determines how peacefully you sleep, how refreshed you wake up, and how focused you remain the next day. Many people destroy their next day without realizing it, by scrolling late into the night, by overstimulating their mind, by sleeping irregular hours, or by ending the day with stress. A good night routine doesn't need to be complicated. It can be as simple as reviewing what you achieved, writing down tasks for tomorrow, reducing screen time for 30 minutes, practicing gratitude, or simply organizing your space. These small actions prepare your mind for rest. A rested mind is a productive mind. A productive mind creates a productive life. Real-life example. Students who end their day by quickly reviewing notes the night before have sharper retention the next morning. Professionals who end their day by listing their tomorrow tasks sleep with clarity instead of anxiety. Time management is built equally in the morning and at night. Living each day with intention. When you manage time effectively, an extraordinary shift happens. You stop merely existing and start living. Each day becomes a deliberate step toward a version of yourself that you are consciously creating. Intentional living means you don't just wake up and let the day control you. You decide how your day will go. It means you stop waiting for someday and start shaping your life today. You begin to understand that every minute carries meaning, and every hour is an opportunity to build something lasting. Intentional living doesn't require perfection. It requires awareness. It requires honesty. It requires the willingness to pause and ask yourself, what matters today? What moves me forward? What steals my time? What deserves my energy? What aligns with my values? People who live intentionally have a different glow. They walk with clarity. They speak with purpose. Their actions feel grounded. Even if they don't know their entire future, they know their next step. And that is enough. When your actions align with your purpose, time becomes not something to control, but something to cooperate with. It becomes your partner, not your pressure. Small habits that change everything. People often look for big habits, big routines, or massive changes to transform their life. But the truth is, tiny habits repeated daily have greater long-term impact than any dramatic change. Small habits feel easy. They feel doable. They don't require extreme discipline. And because they are small, you don't feel resistance, but their power multiplies over time. A few tiny habits that change everything. Reading 5 to 10 minutes a day. Keeping your workspace clean. Planning your day before it begins. Drinking enough water. Doing quick stretching or walking. Writing down priorities. Decluttering your mind before bed. Avoiding phone for the first 15 minutes after waking. These habits seem small, but they build a foundation of clarity and discipline. Over time, your mind becomes sharper, your energy steadier, your routine smoother, and your day more structured. Real-life example. People who read even 10 minutes daily end up finishing multiple books a year without effort. People who plan their day at night avoid 70% of confusion the next day. People who maintain small discipline routines often feel more confident and peaceful. How time management makes you more attractive in every way. This may surprise you, but time management enhances your attractiveness, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and socially. People gravitate toward those who have control over their lives. Time-disciplined people appear more mature, more confident, more organized, and more reliable. They speak clearly. They respect others' time. They follow through with commitments. Their presence feels stable. Their energy feels purposeful. When you manage your time, you walk differently. You talk differently. You think differently. You carry yourself with the dignity of someone who values themselves. And this is extremely attractive. People trust you more. People respect you more. People listen to you more. Time management is not just a productivity skill, it is a character-building skill. It shapes your personality, your presence, and your influence. How time management shapes your future. If you want to know what your life will look like in 5 years, examine how you spend your time today. Your future is not built by dreams alone. It is built by daily habits. A person who spends time learning will have a knowledgeable future. A person who spends time creating will have an impactful future. A person who spends time procrastinating will have a regretful future. A person who spends time improving relationships will have a loving future. Time creates destiny, moment by moment. The most powerful thing about time is that it is fair. It does not favor the rich or the poor, the talented or the untalented. It gives everyone 24 hours. What you do with those hours makes the difference. Your future self is watching you right now, silently hoping that you make choices that will make life easier later. Time management is not about controlling life. It is about cooperating with the future. The feeling of a well-managed life. There is a unique sense of inner peace that comes from managing time well. You feel calm, not rushed. You feel focused, not scattered. You feel hopeful, not helpless. Your confidence grows, your anxiety fades, your clarity becomes stronger. You stop comparing yourself to others because your path becomes clear. You stop doubting your choices because your direction becomes solid. You stop fearing the future because you know you are building it each day. A well-managed life feels like breathing fresh air after years of chaos. It feels like opening a clean room after weeks of clutter. It feels like finally finding your rhythm after being lost in noise. And once you experience this feeling, you never want to go back. Final secret. Time. Management is self-respect. At the deepest level, time management is not about productivity or efficiency. It is about self-respect. When you respect your time, you respect your life. When you respect your hours, you respect your dreams. When you respect your schedule, you respect your future. People who waste their time unintentionally are not bad people. They simply underestimate their own worth. But the moment you realize your time is precious, you treat yourself differently. You make choices that honor your goals, not destroy them. You build habits that support your growth, not sabotage it. You protect your mental space, your energy, and your direction. Time management is not about squeezing tasks into a day. It is about designing a life that reflects who you truly are. Conclusion: your new life begins now. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not weak. You are simply becoming aware. And awareness is the beginning of transformation. Time is not running away from you. You are just now learning how to walk with it. Every minute you manage intentionally becomes a step toward your dreams, your success, your peace, and your future. This script was not written to inspire you for a moment. It was written to transform how you view every day that lies ahead of you. Your time is your power. Your discipline is your strength. Your consistency is your identity. Your future is in your hands. And today is the perfect day to begin.